All right, so 4 things to like about the Reebok JJ IV training shoe. Number 1, overall, this is a pretty lightweight model, so it feels pretty light on the foot, never feels very encumbering or heavy. Second thing I like about this shoe, it's $100. It's tough to beat a well-rounded, brand new model when it comes to a cross-training shoe or a training shoe for that matter. So for $100, pretty good bet for this shoe. Third thing I like about this model is how breathable and durable it is. So I've only been putting them to the test over the last week. However, the flex weave material is showing great signs of durability, and the tongue is breathable, and the outer is pretty lightweight too, with a little bit of give to it, so it's nice and breathable when you're doing outside workouts or indoor and it's hot and so forth. Fourth thing I like about this shoe is it's kind of a jack of all trades. If you're somebody who likes to train like an athlete, so you like to jump, you like to run, you like to do bounding, and you like to lift and so forth, I think this shoe is going to be a pretty good bet. Has an athletic outsole, it's stable enough to support some pretty heavy lifts, and honestly, again, jack of all trades, and that's my 4th pro. All right, so 2 potential cons I could see others having with this model is number 1, in previous JJ Watt models, the midfoot has been super narrow, and for people like myself who do have a little bit of a higher arch, it almost felt like the midfoot was pushing that foot down, and it became a little bit suffocating at times. In this model, it seems like they made the last a little bit bigger, and it actually fits a lot more true, and it doesn't feel super suffocating. However, that outsole is still pretty narrow. So if you do have a flatter foot and you need a little bit more width in the midfoot, I could see this shoe being a little bit uncomfortable for you. The second thing I could see folks having a problem when it comes to this model is just the overall aspect of being really good at one thing. This is a jack of all trades training shoe. So if you like versatile training and you don't go super heavy in your training, this is a great model for you. But if you are trying to push the upper envelope when it comes to your Olympic lifts, deadlifts, squats, this may not be the best shoe when it comes to stability, but again, that's really pushing the upper echelon there. And obviously that's going to be on the context of how you like to train and your strength needs. All right, so who should buy this shoe? 2 populations in specific that I think would work really well with this model. Number 1, just the athlete that likes to train in all realms of sport and in the gym. So if you like to sprint, if you like to jump, if you like to lift all in one workout, I think this shoe is gonna be pretty great for you. And note that I'm calling it more of like an athlete versus a strength athlete who's gonna be primarily focused on lifting while doing some of the other agility, running, and jumping movements. Second person I think that would benefit with this shoe is more of just your beginner or recreational lifter who just likes to train casually. You don't go crazy hard when it comes to like pushing the upper limits on your runs. You don't max out your deadlifts and squats and cleans. So if you are somebody who falls in that middle ground of just liking to go to the gym to train and you want a comfortable shoe that you can train in for every movement, but also kind of wear outside of the gym, I think this shoe is a good bet for you. So now, who wouldn't this shoe benefit? 2 populations in specific. And now, obviously, these populations are met with the context of their needs. So keep that in mind. Number 1 is anybody who wants to do a lot of running. This shoe is fine for running, but the midsole throughout is pretty consistent. It's like a high density mid foam, it feels like, or like a firmer foam for that matter. And the outsole is this harder rubber. A lot of traction, but if you're trying to run a distance, a long distance for that matter, may not be the best bet for you. So for my endurance athletes out there that are looking for a new shoe to push the upper envelopes in their running, don't look here, but my guess is you're not. Second person I don't think the shoe would benefit too greatly is again that strength athlete who is constantly focused on pushing the limits for their strength, and they need a shoe where they can really splay the foot. The midfoot here again is a little bit narrow. It might be a little bit limiting for folks who really want to catch and grab the ground when it comes to catching cleans or splaying the toes in deadlifts and squats and so forth, and getting that midfoot nice and grounded and gripping the floor. So that's the second population I could see not necessarily fully benefiting with this model, but again, these are populations with very specific needs, and my guess is if you're one of those populations and you're watching this video, you probably already know that. All right, so when it comes to sizing and fit of this shoe, a problem the JJ Watt model has had in the past is being way too tight in the midfoot, which gives a really weird feeling when it comes to gauging if you should go to true to size up, size down, and so forth. This model I thought was a lot more true to size because they made the last, I think, a little bit bigger in the midfoot, and it fit pretty dang true. So I'm a size 10, these are a size 10 shoe. I had about like maybe a half to maybe 3/4 of an inch up there in the toe. Could be a little bit more snug, so maybe go down a half size if you're on that smaller range of your true to size shoe. But for most folks, I think going true to size would be a pretty good bet in this model. All right, so now let's chat performance and construction of the shoe because they kind of bleed together here. So I'm gonna run you through lifting, sprinting, and more of just your more cross-training versatile workouts where we're doing a little bit of bounding, some agility, lifting, and running all in one workout. So when it comes to lifting specifically, this shoe I think is gonna be stable enough for a lot of lifters. And honestly, I wouldn't worry about stability in this shoe unless you are casually pushing over 500 pounds in the squat, deadlift, and so forth, which I know some of you are, but maybe not everybody is. So when it comes to stability, I wouldn't sweat it too much. The rubber outsole is pretty dang stable. It wraps up over the midsole and throughout, as you can see, pretty consistent midsole throughout. So we don't have any variance or like extra squishy foam in there anywhere. So when it comes to lifting, overall, pretty solid shoe, but as I mentioned in the cons and who shouldn't buy this shoe, I do find the midfoot a little bit limiting. Granted, this is for more of your athletic training style, so not so much cross training per se, so that is something to keep in mind, but overall, pretty dang stable when it comes to lifting. Now, when it comes to running and so forth, I ran about 2 to 3 miles in these. I didn't go any further, mostly because they were not that comfortable to run long distances in. And that makes sense because they're not fully designed to be a half marathon, a marathon shoe. So when it comes to running specifically, I like how the shoe actually feels and reacts a little bit. Toe feels very bouncy. It did take about a week to break in, so I'm just finally, I think, getting to the break-in period of this, where it does feel a little bit more reactive on that toe. But overall, shorter runs, more of like your faster sprint style workouts. So we did some stair sprints today and some tempo runs. These worked pretty dang well. And honestly, I really like this outer traction. Gave you a lot of grip. And there's like a little divot down here on the heel that provides a little bit of reactiveness when it comes to heel strike and not limiting or making you feel just overly encumbered by a slap on the ground. Now, when it comes to more of your cross-training workouts, overall, I think this shoe is pretty dang solid. And if we relate it back to what I said earlier in the pros, cons, and who would benefit and who wouldn't benefit, it's pretty easy to see that this shoe will work for a lot of athletes who like to have more of a cross-training style in their workouts. So if you like to have a shoe that you can wear for everything, that's pretty good for everything, the JJ Watt 4, good bet for you, and it's a decent value. The flex weave outer is lightweight, it's durable. There's an extra mesh, synthetic mesh here or synthetic material over here that covers the toe. So if you are dragging the toes a lot and let's say there's sprint get-ups or burpees, there's not gonna be a lot of breakdown there. The heel, pretty dang stable, not a lot of heel slip, and honestly, I really like how they work these eyelets. As you can see, they come out of this inner ring here as opposed to being on top. I think that's really cool because it hides the laces from friction and other places that there could be a little bit of rubbing and causing a little bit of fraying there. So when it comes to cross training, overall solid. But again, if you are that athlete that is very focused on the strength sports aspect of cross training and you are somebody who really just wants a shoe for lifting and you just casually do some running or jumping on the side here and there, may not be the best bet for you, but that's only really because of the midfoot here and just how they overall feel and fit for longer duration workouts when it comes to splaying those toes and so forth. So once again, if you are that cross-training athlete who's really into strength sports and you just kind of jump and do runs here and there when they're plugged into workouts, but your main focuses are on lifting, you may want to look for another model just because I do think that this midfoot might get a little uncomfortable for you. But again, I think it's a very specific population, and for most folks looking for a solid training shoe, JJ Watt 4 will do the job. All right, so that wraps up my review of the Reebok JJ Watt 4. I kind of changed the format of this review and tried to make it a little bit more concise and get you the information that you actually need. So if you like this new style of review, drop a comment down below and let me know. Or if I left anything out, let me know. As always, guys, like the video, drop the channel, subscribe, have a couple hot reviews coming your way very soon. I'll see you in the next one.